Just checking my speakers. Well, this is another episode of Everyday Alpha podcast. This is Christian waiting on Ryan. We haven't chatted for a while. We're going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff today. Looking forward to having Ryan on. We've had a little break. Some spring break was going on, and we're gonna get after it today. So just waiting on Ryan at the Everyday Alpha podcast.
Hey, hey,
Look at this guy.
look at you.
How are you?
Rock, rocking the green, looking good.
Yeah, it's
Somebody's somebody's been messing with my stand.
you got some little sticky fingered kids down there touching your stuff.
Gosh, man. I'm like, don't touch that. I should say, hey, fuck around with all of that stuff over there that's sitting nicely in place.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm like, don't touch that shit. They're like, hey, kicking soccer balls and
Go
shit off.
go touch it. Go touch it. Go touch it. Thor's probably like, Zara, go touch it. I dare you.
Jeez. How are you, man?
I'm good. You?
I'm pretty good, man. Pretty
Things
good.
calming down a little bit over there at the old foot and ankle spot.
Absolutely fucking not. I appreciate you asking. Let's go on to the next topic.
All right. Next
I don't want
topic.
to
What
sit in
else?
that shit. What else we
What,
got?
I got some interesting stuff going on in my world. I don't know if that's worthy of talking about. I was really kind of hoping we could talk about just current events of health in men's wellness, men's health. I kind of want to have a good conversation about how to talk to these guys about changing their diet. What we need to tell these guys to do to improve. Because I do so many consults every day in my office, and guys are asking me, they're sitting there, they're fat, they're overweight, they don't have any energy, and they're like, I can't figure out why my hair's falling out, or I can't figure out why my testosterone's so low. I need to get checked out. And they're always looking for this magic pill. Like everybody's looking for a magic pill. And our system is set everybody up for that. There's got to be a pill that you can take. There's got to be something, a magic button that can be pressed. And I've had about the last 2 weeks since we last talked, I've probably had 10 or 15 specific consultations and conversations with men about, whatever they're in my office for. And I always ask them, how's your diet? Describe it to me. Do you eat these things? Do you eat heavy fried foods? Do you eat seed oils? Do you eat high fructose corn syrup? Are you eating stuff out of packages? Are you opening up packages to then make food? And the answer is always yes. And there's always the excuse, well, I work on the road, or I'm in the oil fields, or I'm this, and it's just really, really hard to eat healthy. And that's by design, I think. I really do. I think that we have when I say we, I think that the food industry and the healthcare industry has conditioned us all to think that fast, quick, and easy. Grab a protein bar. And I always ask these guys, you ever read what's in these protein bars? Can you
Hmm.
pronounce even half of the ingredients that's in the protein bars? Because if you can't pronounce them, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't put it in your body. I wouldn't make it a ongoing source of, fuel for your body. So that's one of the big challenges that I've been having with talking to my clients. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I think that I have probably spent maybe a little too much time guiding guys down that road and not focusing on what they actually came into my office for. And I'm not closing as much business as I should be because I'm finding myself spending a little more time like having a deeper, better conversation versus like, yeah, let's just get you in here and let's just start doing this stuff, and I, I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads with myself. And what I'm doing in that. So
Well, I get excited and giddy over this shit. So good thing I wore my boner pants because I would love to dive into this stuff. It's funny. I think it's seasonal too because I'm getting a lot of it. It's almost as if we get a sniff and a scent of the springtime. We get a few of these 70-degree days and people are thinking fucking bathing suits, summer trips, vacations, shorts, t-shirts, stuff where you can't hide stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so maybe I'm off, but I'm getting the same sort of overwhelming flow. But you know what? I get it every year at this time. For me, a lot of my athletes are finishing their seasons because a majority of my guys are hockey. So we've got the final run. Nationals for AAA youth hockey is around the corner next week. And after that, these kids, you hit it on the head. They want the magic solution, the pill, the supplement that does it all, the easy diet, fill in the blank. And it's interesting because as much as on one hand I do agree that people want that, I would argue that I don't believe people would commit to that pill if they actually had it as much as they believe. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I have a very simple philosophy that I try to coach or I try to consult with the specifics of dietetics and nutrition. And again, for me, this is, I would say, 70% athletes. And when I say athletes, those could be, your adults who are weekend warriors that used to play high school ball or college ball, and now they still care about health and wellness. So these are people who, they're asking me for the information. They want to know, all right, Herzog, I need a coaching session on diet. I need a coaching session on nutrition. And it's wild how many people I start bare bones, basic foundational level with, and they crash and burn. And
Yeah.
it's every excuse in the book. You hit on a lot of those. I travel for work, or we're out a lot with the family, and it's just hard to make these home cooked meals. We don't have time. I don't like that. I mean, I literally will get that from people when I talk about fatty fish and getting your omegas, not just via a supplement, but via real foods. And it's like, I don't like fish. And I'm like, well, okay, well, do you like being fat?
Ah,
Right? Do you like high cholesterol? Do you like gut rot? Do you like leaky gut syndrome? Do you like acne on your face? I mean, I believe that there's so much outward that people don't believe is being affected through the diet and what we put in our bodies. Or to your point, and my daughter said this the other day, 7 years old. She said, "Hey, let me look at this bar." We were on spring break last week, and I refuse to eat anything that's in a package, any bars. I hate them all. We make our own. We call them Zog balls. They're a protein ball, but it's basically a protein bar that I know it's in it, right? It's a real
yeah.
ingredient. And so she grabs this bar, and no shit, she goes, "Where's the coloring?" And I'm loving this. I'm like, my kids understand the importance of coloring, and not beet, but red 40 or yellow
Right.
6,
Yeah.
right? So she's like, "Where's the coloring?" She's looking, she goes, "Dad, there's no coloring in this." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Why don't you start from the top and read me the ingredients?" And the first one, she's like, uh, she goes, I probably shouldn't eat this because I can't understand what I'm reading. I'm like, "Hun, if you can literally live by that rule for
Yeah.
anything that you read on the ingredient list from this day forward, you're just inevitably going to be healthier than the people that they don't care."
No, no, because they're told through marketing and they're told through all the everything they see on the TV, everything they're bombarded with. It's put in the healthy aisle, it's put in the organic aisle, whatever you want to say. It's all a fucking lie. It's a total scam job at the grocery store. And it makes me so sad because, the last 2 years have kind of been well, not kind of been. The last 2 years have been a real eye opener for me. And it wasn't just until the last year that I really started to say, okay, this has got to stop for me because I talk about it, but then I found myself drifting off and being like, oh, it's okay. I just want to eat that anyways. I just want to eat it anyways. And then, for the next day and a half, my face is all broken out. I'm a perfect example of somebody who, when I eat something that I know I shouldn't have eaten, you'll see it all over my face. I have very sensitive, delicate white Danish skin. And when I eat, like we went to Scalepi's the other night and I ordered a wedge salad with the dressing on the side because they throw that dressing all over. And I asked for just light vinaigrette dressing, which you still don't really know what's in it, but anyway. Um, and I had some mussels. I mean, that's pretty safe, right? A little garlic broth. I asked them what the broth's made of. They told me I felt okay about that. Rebecca orders something that was chicken piccata pasta, whatever, whatever, and I'm like, let me try a little bit. So I just, fork a little bit of that pasta and I tried it. It was delicious. Next morning, all along my hairline, all along my hair, it's all red. It's all inflamed, right? And that's my body's autoimmune response going, I can't handle this anymore. You've been doing this for 50 years. I can't do this. And every time you do this, this is what the results are. I get these skin flare ups, and my gut feels bloated. I feel like crap for 48 hours. So I use myself as an example when I'm talking to my clients all the time. And I tell them, listen, I didn't take care of my body. I didn't really think about it until, I was almost 50 years old. And here's the reality of what you're doing to yourself, and they're like, yeah, nodding their head. Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But do any of them really actually make the changes? I hope one guy does. And every once in a while, I do get a guy who comes back in the office and says, hey, I want to let you know, I've stopped this, this, and this, and I've already lost 20 pounds. And it's like, wow, that's awesome. But it's so few and far between. So,
Mhm.
getting that message out. And I really think one of the things I'd like to do with you is sit down and kind of come up with for this audience, like, what's our 12 step to diet? And you got to make it simple. You
Oh,
really got to make it simple because if we get into like counting macros and if
mm,
we get into, nobody's going to touch it because they're going to go, I don't even understand what these guys are talking about.
yep.
But if we just say step number one, just choose one thing to cut out. And here's your list of 5 things. Step two, after you've completed step one and that's secure,
Hmm.
choose another thing to cut out, right? I mean,
Right.
that's really how simple it has to be. Because if you leave it up to men or women, but we're just talking men for the most part, we'll fuck it up. We'll make it more complex, or it'll be too complex for our simple brains. And we'll, yeah, okay, but then we go golfing with the guys and we drink 17 beers on the golf course. And it's like, what did you just do?
Mhm.
You basically ate a loaf of bread in liquid form. And we just talked about that's not what you need in your body, right? So I'd like to, maybe take some time one of these days and put that together and maybe put that in as like an attachment that we could have on our website
No, I
to
like that.
where
I,
to
I,
where
I,
it's like, the simplest way to start is right here, you know?
and I think just to piggyback on the simplicity piece, when I coach any of my clients nowadays, and I've transformed this coaching methodology over the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years. I think COVID is when it really set in for me, where the more I can start simple, I can learn more about the athlete or the client I'm working with. For example, if I've got an executive client that I'm doing coaching with, and I know they might not have an athletic background, they're really clueless, in my opinion, when it comes to nutrition and dietetics, because I mean, I listen to a ton of symposiums and I attend dietetic and nutrition symposiums just to keep my credentialing and certification through the NSCA. And so I go to these. I listened to one the other day that was on paleo and keto. And I spend hours and hours and hours, right, throughout the year, and I'm still kind of lost. I read books on it. I'm reading a book right now I picked up called The Longevity Guidebook by Peter Diamandis. And, he's got one approach, and the next guy's got the next approach. And all that being said, I think for me, I have to have a real conversation with a client and give them one suggestion. That's it. It's not like I can give them three or four because again, they fall on their face. And I have my like golden three, they fall on their face. So if I give them one suggestion and in a week I check in and there was zero adherence, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm
Yeah.
not dealing with, someone who can't follow this step because they've got the skill to cut sugar. They've got the knowledge to cut sugar. It's a will problem, right?
Yeah.
So when I know that now it's a will problem, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, you've cut sugar, maybe, maybe not. Let's try to add in some leafy greens. It doesn't matter. They're not going to take tip number 2. And they're not going to take tip number 4, 12, 20. They have a will problem. And so then I step back into the entire like forefront of the arena and say, hang on a second. Listen, here's what I see. You told me you want to make changes to your diet. You want to, decrease your body fat. You want to put on some lean muscle mass. The first step was to cut sugar, and you couldn't do it for a week. So before we go any further, let's just have a conversation. Like, why do you want fill in the blank? What is it that you came to me for? Why do you want that? Right? Like, if you want to decrease your body fat from 20 to 14%, I need to know why. Because if that is going to be your fuel for you to stop eating processed foods or cutting your sugar or eating leafy greens, I need to know it's a legitimate forest fire within you that's going to be an agent of change. And if not, like, buddy, I don't know what to do for you at this point. I'm wasting my time and I have these high hopes for you, and you're putting zero effort in because there's a will problem. So, you get some great conversations with these guys that come in. And I think that for me, I kind of take a similar approach in maybe a different environment where I'm the one challenging this because no one else is challenging this. There's no reason for me to talk about paleo and keto and the carnivore diet and the benefits of all this if I can't get you to fucking cut your sugar for a week.
Right.
You know
You
what
know,
I mean?
yeah. Well, here's as you're talking, I'm thinking about this, and I'm gonna give a full on this is me response to what you're talking about. When I first met you, and we started really engaging, you started training my kids, and then I was like, hey, I'd like to come train, and you challenged me to a point to where I didn't feel like that I could at the time. I didn't feel like that I could meet your expectations,
Mhm.
and so I stopped training with you. And that's an interesting just there's an admission right there. Not that I don't want to train. I fucking would love to train with you. I'd train with you any day, right? But there's an expectation from a coach or a trainer to someone who's asking and or paying, mostly paying for the service. And in the end, how much of it do you think, and I think this is the truth, how much of it do you think that men just want to say they've got a kick-ass coach who's challenging them and telling them what to do, but they still don't have the willpower to actually follow the steps and then move on to number 2 of your golden 3, right? To the
Mhm.
point you're making. But they'll keep paying you, or they'll keep coming to the medical man cave and talking to me, right? Or they call me up. I get unsolicited emails every week from guys who haven't spent a single dollar in my office. And I was not complaining about it. I was talking about it yesterday to some of my staff. And I said, I'm easily spending 3 or 4 hours a week consulting guys, and we get nothing. There's no fee, there's no money. I'm just doing it because I feel like it's the right thing to do, and it's part of the brand, and it's part of who I feel I am and what I'm delivering at my workspace. But it's ongoing. Every month I've got 3 or 4 guys that I hear from every single month. and they're wanting this or they're asking about that. And I always follow up with, well, hey, where are you on that first thing we talked about? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still working that. I'm still working on it. And after a while, you kind of start scratching your head like, man, I really don't want to talk to this guy anymore because I just feel like I'm wasting his time. But he's finding value in my words. And he's seeing me as a free resource of information, maybe even a check for him. But this guy's still not actually making those changes. And what do you, I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you see that in just in your coaching, like guys wanting to hear from Herzog, but then they're really not doing what Herzog's talking about?
Oh, all the time. And again, I'm getting a flood of these emails, and I try not to give my cell phone out to very many clients that aren't clients because I don't like the text conversations. I'd rather have an email or a quick phone call. However, right now, it's overwhelming how many people, athletes especially, are going, "Hey, coach, so I'm done with the season. School's coming to a close. I want to, I want an off-season program. And hey, can we sit down and chat?" It's like, yeah, absolutely. But this is what I do for a living. So here's my hourly rate, and
Yeah.
this is what you can expect, right? And it's funny how many people, a few things. It's funny how many people want just the camaraderie, the conversation, the brotherhood, the accountability, the free accountability,
Yeah.
right? And there's something there, well, there's tremendous value there, but there's something interesting about that piece where I've been navigating that for 20 years, how to appropriately set the stage for, okay, when do you cross the line of just a good conversation into this is what I do for a living? And, I read books and spend hours at seminars, and I listen to podcasts every morning working out. Like, well, this isn't free. This was my time, right? And
Yeah.
so in order for me to give that back, like this is what it looks like. And a lot of people, it's like, whoa, okay, I just wanted to have a conversation. No, no, no. I understand. And I'm happy to have a conversation. And so then that's one category, the ones that are just like, I want a free service, I want to have a time, a lunch with Herzog.
Hmm.
And then there's the next category who they're willing to dive in. I've got a few of these right now. They're 18-year-old kids who their parents are loaded. They were pro athletes, and there's all kinds of money to fund this. So, hey, Herzog, take my kids and make them better, right? And these kids, they're like sponges. I mean, I gave one of them my number because he's officially my client now. And he's like, "Coach, what shoes do I need for training this off season? Hey, coach, how much protein should I be eating? Hey, I'm trying to gain 7 pounds in the next 6 weeks. What?" And there's a million questions, but they still don't adhere to the instruction. They just want to be a part of that journey, right? They
Yeah.
want to be in the plane. They don't want to fucking take, heaven forbid they got to fucking take the pilot seat and they got to actually make changes in their life, right?
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
and then the last group, I think, are the ones who truly they're not fucking around. Like they are the ones who you say, "Hey, listen, I want you to start eating 150 grams of protein a day instead of 110. And I want you to track it. And so I want to see what your meals look like and where it's, each day, where you're falling short, deficits, surpluses." And 3 days later, I get this like 3-page notebook, and these kids are just dialed. And you see that category three just making massive movement in the right direction.
Yeah.
They're going through, challenges and hurdles and obstacles. They're becoming more self-confident, and they believe in themselves, and they're seeing their goals, and they're reaching their goals, and like their chest is bigger. They're actually they're transforming because they're soaking it in and they're doing it. And doing the work is what is the difference. It's not the information,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I can tell you since I was in seventh and eighth grade and I started training for the military, I've always been into health and wellness. I didn't know what I know now back then, but I also I hunted down the information. And if I had someone say, "Hey, Herzog, you probably shouldn't eat out at this fast food restaurant," or if you do, maybe choose this and don't choose that. And I would make that change, right? But I would say in the last 7, 8 years, and Jess and I have done this together, so it helps when you've got that partner. And we do it in our life. We do it in the morning at our workout. We do it at breakfast. We do it at lunch. We do it at dinner. We do it as much as we can. And so there's accountability built in. But when I had my spinal surgery back in September, from August of last year until now, I have taken my entire regimen to a whole new level that I've never experienced. Now, let me first preface by saying I thought it was hard work before I committed to the new plan. What I've done in the last, what is that, 8 months? Yeah, call it 8 months, is is not something I would even offer as a suggested regimen for someone going, hey, I need some change. Like it's not doable. It's too much. It takes years and years and years of stepping stones to get there, right? Which
Right.
brings into like that whole conversation is like, we've got to figure out like first grade. Like what is first grade? Because I love when I have these sit down conversations with potential executive clients and they go like Herzog, man, what do you do? Like you're in shape, your energy's great, like you're sharp, like you reference books, you talk about experts in the fields, you, I cracked the code, right? And they're going, fuck, you cracked the code. What do you do? And I go, what do I do? And they're, yeah, like I kind of want what you want. Like, tell me what you do. And I'm going, I don't think you're ready for that conversation. I don't think you're ready for my first 2 hours of the day. And again, I'm not here standing on my soapbox. I'm just saying, I think we have to be careful about what we provide as a program and what we say, hey, here's my offering to you. You need to do this, this, and this. Because most people are like,
I can't do that.
no fucking way.
No
Right?
way. I can't do that. I can't even get up before 9 o'clock. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
Or
they say.
if you're like, hey, I need you just to cut soda. Like you can eat everything else you've been, ingesting,
Right.
plow all the fast food and all the junk, but like just don't drink soda for a week. And they're like, there's no way I can do that.
Yeah. Just or that's it. That's exactly right. Cut one thing. Pick one of these five.
They legitimately can't.
No.
But it's we've talked about this. It's they won't. It's not a
Well,
can't. They won't. Their life revolves around this. Now, one thing I'm going to throw into this, which is interesting, and I want to hear your take on it.
yeah.
What I have noticed in the last couple months, so I'm still in recovery. I'm hoping to get cleared here in about 2 months. So I've got this like sight on what my summer is going to look like, and potentially training for some races and just getting back to where like my mind needs to be and hopefully my body one day. But I've really been looking at how my emotional state or just my life perspective in general really affects the garbage that I choose to incorporate with. Maybe that's what I put in my mouth. Maybe that's what I think. Maybe that's emotion that I let drag me down for 30 minutes. Maybe that's the routine that I decide to skip. Maybe that's hitting snooze and skipping my morning workout. Like I've noticed some interesting things that have given me this new perspective of what I think a lot of people may be struggling with. And it's that their emotions, their feelings, their perspective, their attitude, their life, their job, their kids, their situation, how that affects the detriment to the new nutrition, the new workout program, the new mindfulness routine, the new early wake up in the morning routine. Does that kind of make sense? And does that strike anything for you?
Absolutely does. You know, I always go back to, the why do we do what we do? Why do we make the decisions we make? Why are we in the situations we're in? And everybody's got their own story, and everybody's got their own. You can call them excuses or explanations, of why. Why do you do that? Well, okay, or how long have you been doing that? Have you ever thought about changing? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But there's a massive brain chemistry problem, okay, in America, right? And it stems from what we've been putting in our bodies for since we were kids. Since our parents were feeding us Infamil, which was processed garbage baby food, right? And we start there. So now here I am, a Gen Xer, and I'm 51 years old, about to be 52 in May, and I think about how hard it is to make changes because our brains and our bodies don't want that change. And that's the will that you're talking about. And I think it's just we allow so many things in our lives to intrude in on the things that we know we want to do or change or improve upon. But we allow so many things. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm going to use me again because there's nobody else I can really talk about. I've been involved with trying to buy up the company that I work for because there are some financial challenges from the owner. And there's a bankruptcy at hand. Now, we have been negotiating in bad faith, come to find out, because he really wasn't in a position to actually negotiate a price point, a buyout, or anything like that. Because when you go bankrupt, there are hardcore rules from the bankruptcy court that says, here's the things you can do and you cannot do because you're asking to get rid of all this, debt. And so there was a lot of, and has been a lot of really nasty, bad feelings behind the scene. But up front, it's this front. It's this, everything is awesome. Hey, thumbs up. We're going to have a great day today. But underneath, there's this underlying current. You hear about it. It's been said to you. Somebody talks to you about it. And those kinds of things have affected me over the last 6 months since October or September. I take it back, September. September is when we started this journey. My partner and we started this journey. And I mean, I think I've talked to you about this multiple times on, hey, I think I'm on the 10-yard line. We're about to, get this over the goal line. But we weren't. We weren't from the beginning. And it wasn't until this week that basically the doctor we're trying to buy this phone came out and said, I can't do anything until April 24th when my bankruptcy is declared official. That is at the end of that, then everything's in place. All things are signed. And now, I can then now start doing things. But, he's got limitations. There's certain things he can and can't do. Like, when you go bankrupt, you can't open new accounts. You can't open a new credit card. You can't open a new bank account. You get your one bank account that the bankruptcy court gets to look at anytime they want, right? Mm-hmm. There's only so much money you can actually make. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's a 7-year journey. There's no way out of that. That's a 7-year journey. Okay. So I have been operating in this really caustic environment, trying to stay positive every day at the office for the client, for myself, for the relationship. But then you go home and you hear all this stuff. And Ryan, it is debilitating. I mean, I haven't gone to the gym all week, right? And I had a bite of a cookie 2 nights ago that flared my face up, right? And I've been drinking whiskey again. I've come home and it's like I'm having pores. And I have got to snap myself out of this fucking rut of just emotional baggage that I'm dealing with every day. And so, I'm so glad we're talking today. I have been looking forward to this. It's cathartic, don't get me wrong, but just a place to where I can just be like, pull your head out of your ass, keep your eye on the prize, stay focused and positive in your work with your clients, in your life with yourself, with your wife, with your son, your daughter. I mean, hell, Rebecca was home last week for spring break, and it was such a joy to have her around, and we didn't do anything. I worked, Elizabeth worked, Rebecca was here, Owen was here. They were, Owen worked. Rebecca just literally, she disengaged from her studies. She's taking physics, chemistry 2, and calculus in 1 semester right now. And it's bending her over. It's beating her up, and, she's celebrating, C pluses. And I'm like, hey girl, just get past the class, keep moving, just keep moving forward. But anyway, it was so nice to have them around. And it was so just great to see those 2 young adults, moving forward. But the example, I guess, and I keep squirreling on you a little bit here. The example is that we allow so much crap into our lives, and we don't sometimes even know we're doing it. And we become so used to it. This is easy to do. It's easy to get on this and, look at news feeds that you like, or look at social people like social media. Don't get me wrong. I got an Instagram one night for about 2.5 hours, and it was all this inspirational military homecomings and music concerts of bands that I like. And I was like, 2 hours later, I looked at Elizabeth and she's like, "What did you just do?" I was like, the internet won tonight. It won, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, it was so inspiring. I had tears coming down my face. I was like, "Oh my God." Right. And then, of course, I didn't go to bed, right? Because my brain is just wah, 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 right? I try to go to sleep. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still like sitting up, you know? So we do so much damage to ourselves, not on purpose, but because we find these distractions. And distractions could be food, distractions could be the internet, distractions can be the drama at work. And people start to allow those distractions to become part of the reality of how they operate. And to ask somebody to say, "Hey, disconnect yourself from Facebook. Just step off of it. Delete it off your phone."
Mhm.
That way, every time your phone dings and there's a notification, you're not wanting to go down and do it. And that's the addiction. It's the addiction of that. It's the addiction of, and I say to my son will be like, I'm not addicted, Dad. You act like I'm a drug addict. I'm like, motherfucker, you keep eating bags of Takis. I would say that your brain likes that shit. Flushed down with Red Bull. All right. And I know you're 18, you think you're bulletproof, but bro, when I hear you in the toilet blowing it up, remember that bag of Takis and that Red Bull? He's like, I know. But the point I'm making is we all struggle with all the things that we've allowed into our world, the outside influences, and being able to just put up a couple of roadblocks to stop some of those in is really the hardest thing to do, you know? And I remember a couple of years ago, I deleted all social media and I deleted all news and I deleted all apps, game apps off of my phone, to where the only thing my phone really had was text message and email for work, right? And of course, I could still go on the internet, though. I could still go to Safari and I could still go on the internet. But I found that my mindset changed, and it took a little bit, but I did that. Now that shit's all back on my phone again. And it's like, what happened? Why did I bring it back onto my phone again? Well, I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly why or what the reason. Maybe it was, I wanted to follow my daughter or stay in touch with my son. I don't know, Ryan, but these are the challenges that men have every day. And all these things we've been talking about, I don't think there's an answer. I think it's a journey. And it's how serious on the journey are you to make a change and stick with it and be actively aware when it sneaks back in.
Yes. The awareness is key. I want to tug on this. I want to double click here, and I hope we get a bunch of listeners that can dive into this, because I think every single person in some form or another deals with this. And I think it's important you know, to identify some stuff ourselves with what we're talking about. So let me, for my sake, selfishly, and then maybe you do the same. Let me take it very personal and get subjective about what it is for me. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
go.
Is that
Yeah,
fair?
go.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So so for me, I, in the military, I didn't drink a lot. I was gung ho about staying in just insanely great shape. And working out hungover just sucks. I just was all about staying optimized. So I just didn't drink that much. And when I got out of the military, it was something that casually I started to do. And I wouldn't really do it during the week. I'd usually focus on family, focus on my job, focus on my workout. But on the weekends, I'd let loose. And letting loose sometimes was letting fucking loose, right? Like tying one on and drinking, half a dozen to 10 drinks over a 6 or 7 hour period where maybe I was riding my cruiser through Wash Park in Colorado and hitting up bars. Maybe I was getting taxis from one club or bar to the next, like whatever. And what I realized was after several years of doing that, it took some serious introspection. But what I realized was drinking for me brought initially this feeling that I was chasing of just relaxed, little less stress, take off the edge, feel a little better about myself, maybe even a little more confident, a little cocky, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I didn't ponder the work stress, the life stress. It was a great new like version of me that I could get to via alcohol. And so it was always this chase of like, I want that moment. But then what happened when I was drinking was never great. It was maybe good, but it was never great. Meaning, yes, I would have that feeling, but that feeling also coincided with shitty food choices, right? Like Taco Bell at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, Taco Bell, like really? Taco Bell? And then if Taco Bell was closed, whatever time, 3 o'clock, then gas station burritos. Like, what am I doing? Right?
Waffle House.
Yeah, Waffle House. Just stupid nutritional decisions. And that can we can talk about that one for 20 minutes, right? I mean, the
Oh,
next day
yeah.
you wake up and you're going, like, I feel like shit. I ate shit last night. Now I need to keep either drinking, like have a mimosa or have a beer or have a bloody, which is a bad decision. But again, I'm still making bad decisions. Or let me go eat shit food today to soak up the booze. Like these were the decisions that I was literally contemplating, and it all was because of drinking. Okay. Now let's take that into interpersonal piece. There were fights I would have. There were arguments that I would have that never led to a good place. I got myself into a fight or two. I ended up in jail one time.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I ended up making really bad choices nutritionally, physically. Those conversations that were bad in the morning, you have to face them, right? Whether it's with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or your kids or your coworkers, like those aren't fun conversations. And then take that to the next level and say, what did I say last night? Right? Like I don't even remember what happened. Did I punched him in the face? Or I said that this about it? Like, so my point is there's these triggers in life that I think we have to identify. And I think this is one of the first steps for someone who says, "Hey, listen, like I got to make some changes or I got to figure out how to, clean up my nutrition or I want to do this." I'm going, "Hang on, let's go all the way back." For me, drinking is one of those things that I truly love the taste. I mean, I was a bartender for a couple years. I love making great Manhattans and old fashions and the Rositas, and I love drinking scotch and whiskey and tequila. I do, but I know what's coming after it if I don't have control of it. And so for me, when I'm sober, I have to understand that that is a trigger. And I have to make a very conscious decision to say, hey, is this a time where I'm celebrating maybe somebody's birthday or me and Christian are celebrating, 1,000, whatever, 5-star reviews? Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place, but what I'm referring to is the individual on a Tuesday afternoon who needs a drink. I want to know, why do you need that drink? Did you have a bad day at work? Did you have a fight with your wife this morning? Are your kids driving you crazy? Do you have financial stress? Are you sick of your workout regimen because it's not working? What is the trigger to that drink? Because that drink is going to fix nothing. It's a temporary state where you're convinced you're going to feel better and think maybe clearer, but it's not going to fix anything. So, what is that stuff before? Those are the triggers. And here's my last example with this. This is a real example. So, I took 30 days of no booze from January 13th to February 13th. We did a 72-hour fast leading up to it. So I wanted a clean system and then no booze. And that first drink that I broke on Valentine's Day, just last month, was was the strangest drink I've had in a long time. It was very new for me. It was very different. And I've taken months of no alcohol, but this for some reason was very different. And it wasn't as pleasant as drinks have been in the past. And I've been thinking about this now for what, like 5 or 6 weeks, about how alcohol in the relationship alcohol, what it does to me, what it means to me, right? And so here's my example. So I haven't been drinking that much. On Friday, maybe I'll throw together a 4 ounce Manhattan. Maybe I'll just pour a 2 finger scotch. Maybe I'll have a glass of wine on Saturday, but I do not drink Sunday night through Thursday night, zero. Okay. And some weekends it's just one drink. Well, spring break was last week. Family went on a little vacation. I was around some people that create a little bit of stress in my life. And I could sense the urge to have more alcohol as my answer to fix the shit that was going on, right?
Yeah, yeah. To deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, it was my solution. And
Yeah,
Christian, the one night I had probably 4 drinks, and 2 of them were mixed drinks, pretty strong. And I don't remember all of my night. I didn't black out. I just don't remember all the conversations. I remember being kind of irritable and kind of angry. I remember hearing comments from some individuals that I don't really enjoy company with. And I woke up kind of pissed off. I woke up mad at myself. I woke up guilty, shameful, all of these things because the so-called solution didn't work. And
yeah,
now I had a headache. The kids wanted to go play pickleball and wanted to swim and wanted to take a hike. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. Right? Like, so my point is, I think this is one of so many situations that we're all dealing with. And we're all finding ourselves in this cycle where whether it's booze, whether it's other addictions, whether it's drugs, whether it's social media doom scrolling, whether it's, binge watching Netflix, whether it's grabbing a bag of tortilla chips and fucking eating the whole thing with a jar of salsa. Like there's so many different versions of this. I think it's critical that we identify them and we have a real like convo, we have a meeting, we have a face to face. Like, what is this? And what is it doing to me? Because if I don't fix that, all of this other stuff that I so called want, it's just going to fall. It's going to
yeah,
crumble. It ain't going to work.
yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's what it becomes, and I think this is another thing that viewers, listeners, whatever need to understand. There's not living in America and living your life here in America, there's not a solution. It is a journey that will never end until you're done, until you're taking a dirt nap. It is a journey that will never end. It's how do you make the journey as clean and as happy and as fulfilling and contentment or contentful, if that's the right word, as possible. And it's interesting listening to you talk about your relationship with alcohol. I would argue, or not argue, I would agree. I'm similar to that. I don't really drink during the week, but shit, yesterday I found me and my partner were at the Cherry Creek Grill at 3:30 because some things are happening that are stressful in the environment. And so I was like, hey, I gotta go home. I need to just get out of this place. And he's like, I'm in the same boat. We don't have any clients coming in. So I was like, you want to just get a pop and, sit down at the Cherry Creek Grill? Yeah, sure, no problem. So we go down there, and my go-to order right now at the bar is tonic and lime. No booze. Tonic and lime. Makes me feel like I'm having a gin and tonic. So I sit down, I order my tonic and lime. All the bartenders, they know us because we're there all the time, eating lunch, etc. And he orders up his favorite drink of the day, which is a Paloma, right? And so I'm looking at this Paloma, and then some nice young 25-year-old woman comes in, and there's only one place at the bar, and it's right next to us. And she sits down, and I'm social and Ryan is social, or not Ryan, Rich is social. And I just look over there and I start chatting her up, right? And she's looking at us and she sees our scrubs and she's like, "What's the medical man cave?" And Rich always just looks at me when any of this comes up. And I'm like, "Are you sure you want to hear this?" She's like, "Well, yeah, now I really want to hear it, right?" And so we just start describing, yeah, hooked in. And of course, we talk about the easy stuff to talk about. We do men's health and hair restoration. We do, and then of course we make men's penises bigger naturally. And of course, now the hook is in, and now it's 3 hours later. Ryan, I didn't get home until 7:30,
How
and we
many
were
how
talking.
many how many more tonics did you have?
I didn't have any more tonics. They became Palomas, and they became. I had 3 drinks, and I stopped because I can't have another one of these because one, I got to drive, and two, I'm gonna feel like ass in the morning, and I did this morning.
Okay,
I just,
so I have to interrupt. I have to
yeah.
interrupt because I think this is really important for listeners to hear, and I think it's important for you. What were your initial intentions the moment you said, "Hey, let's go grab a pop"?
Yeah, that's a great question. The intention is and has become because of all the stress that both he and I are dealing with this situation is grabbing a drink and getting whether I drink booze or not. And most times I don't. Most times it's just the tonic and lime, but sometimes anyway, it's an escape. It's get away, and we tell each other, don't talk about work. Don't talk about work. We're going to talk about baseball, whatever sports are on. We're going to talk about playing golf. We're going to play golf on Thursday. It's we talk about other things, and we specifically do not talk about the situation that we're in. Now, obviously, when you get a 25-year-old smoke show.
Whoa, 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 no, 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 don't go there
Oh,
yet. Hold on, hold on,
okay.
hold
All
on.
right.
So
All right. Yeah. So
summarize,
that's the goal. The goal is
summarize.
the summarization is have a cocktail, maybe don't have a cocktail, but it's a safe, comfortable place where you have comfortable people around you and you don't talk about work. It's really an escape, is what it is. Now, he likes to drink way more than I do. And he says, I like drinking. That's fine. I learned that I like to have a little bit sometimes, but generally speaking, it just doesn't, it's not my friend anymore. So it's
Okay.
an escape.
So then when did it like when you ordered the tonic and the lime, in
Uh,
your head were there intentions about getting a drink or were you going, nope, I'm just having tonic and lime?
yeah, when I sat down and ordered the tonic and lime, the whole thing was, we'll sit here because I was actually planning on going to the goddamn gym. We were going to only be there for maybe an hour, 3:30, get out there by 4:30, and I was going to go hit the gym.
This is
But no,
beautiful. This is
right.
beautiful, right?
Look
Like
at Christian. Look at me.
this is almost how we started the conversation. Like, hey, I want to start a new workout program. It's like, sounds great. Like, here's your day one. You're like, good. You have the conversation with Rich at work. You're like, I'm hitting my workout at about 4:35. Hey, let's go grab a pop. And then suddenly, derailment.
Total derailment.
So here's the beautiful question.
Yes.
What actually derailed the plan? Because this is so good, because this is what we talked about in the beginning when we started. When we have men who want to start a new workout program, who want to fix their diet, who want this and that, who want change, what derailed your regimen, your workout, which actually makes Christian happy, which gives Christian what he needs in his life right now. It gives you your sweat. It gives you the testosterone boost. It gives you the intensity. It gives you the mind clearness. Like all of those things are so good. Why did that not happen? What derailed it?
The 25-year-old smoke show who sat down and ordered a martini right off the bat and then started asking us questions. And I have so much fun talking about what we do and sharing and just babbling. That's my biggest weakness. I love to just run my mouth and babble. And here's an engage. And I didn't have it like, it wasn't for me like sexual. It wasn't like, oh, I want to take her home or no, not at all. It's the fun of sharing something that I'm passionate about and in an environment that's comfortable with a wingman who we play off each other really well. And dude, we talked to this woman and other people who were around the bar listening to the conversation. And Ryan, this conversation went in like 9 different directions. But it was fun and it was somewhat work. And then we started talking about all kinds of other crazy, stupid stuff. But
Okay.
the social scene for me is something that I personally will sacrifice a good social scene for breaking away and getting a workout in. Isn't that fucked up?
No, 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 no. And no, and here's the thing. I actually don't think this is a bad thing. This is so awesome because I'm just now kind of grabbing some things in a different light. I almost feel like what I heard in that whole story was a this or that. And it was a choice. And
Oh yeah,
you chose something that you actually enjoy, that is comforting, that is pleasurable, which you should, over something that is not as much, right? That
sure,
like
sure. Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of the day, right? Like you could have left in an hour and gone to work out, but staying and socializing and being part of that banter, and I know you, like you're good at it. You enjoy that. Like you could do it for hours. But then the question is, if you had to stand back again and answer as honest as you can, because this is where I think people are going to struggle. If you had to stand back and look at that situation tomorrow or this afternoon, I can be put in the same situation. Which one do you want more in your life?
Oh man.
Tough.
Yeah,
Tough.
really is tough because
Don't
um
overthink it. Don't overthink
yeah.
it. It's a tough
My
question.
my quick snapshot answer is I'd go back to the social scene again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
right.
So
Absolutely.
here's what I love. So you actually did what you would choose again, which I love, right? You're
Yeah.
not a guy going, I'm beating myself up. I feel so guilty that I didn't because okay, we're good. But now, if you were an individual looking for an enhancement to your health and wellness category of working out, what would it take for you to choose working out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically the question is what would it take for you to not, because I was the one that went to Rich and said, hey, because he goes, I'm going to go home. And I was like, yeah, I'm too. And then I said, but what else are you going to do? And he said, well, what do you mean? He goes, you want to grab a pop? I was like, yeah, let me take an hour. He's like, yeah, let's go do that. Right. So the real question is, where does Christian go? I need to hit the gym because I haven't. And my body, I get to a point where my body knows like you need to get back in the gym and you get your pump on, you feel better, so really it's a willpower. Like it's a, I have to make these decisions in advance, Ryan. And I have to not tell myself, hey, Rich doesn't do anything, and we can go to Cherry Creek Grill, and there's great people to look at, and that's that's the hard decisions that I have to make for me. And so I don't even think I answered your question, but
I don't
you
think you
know,
did.
yeah,
I,
I didn't really answer your question. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a whole new commitment. I'd have to reset my mindset. It would have to be like, okay, I'm committing to this for the next this many days. But there you have it right there. Well, why only that many days? Why
right,
not going forward? Right.
right.
So, I've always, and this has just been my personality. I have good discipline when it's brought to bear, but I'm also very hyper social and very hyper verbal. And that, whether it's a positive conversation or is it drowning in drama, my brain tends to go in that direction first. And so if there's an opportunity for high socialization with people that I really like to be around, I'll sacrifice going to the gym. I'll sacrifice I'll now my eating's gotten better, but I used to be like, yeah, sure, I'll have a pile of wings, or let's get some nachos. I used to be like that. I'm not like that anymore, but I will still go to a social setting with a fun, I know it's going to be great. I value that over, I can't miss my gym session.
Yep.
And that's who I am. That's just who I am.
And I love this. And I love this because I think this, this is worthy of a deeper diagnosis, in my opinion. And maybe it's a conversation where we bring on a psychotherapist, we bring on an absolute guru who can pull some science and some psychology into this. Because here's what I'm thinking. So everything you just said with like that's who you are, right? So let's put that in the context of the same individual who's like, hey, I want to change my diet, I want to lose some weight, I want to pick up a new workout program, I want to I want to learn a language, whatever. Like I want to make a change in my life. I'm not happy. If they're stuck in this is who I am and they can't break that mold, we're lost. Right? So like is the tool actually breaking out of that shell before we even say, hey, Christian, here's a great workout program? Because it doesn't matter if you have a great workout program if you can't break out of the shell of this is who I am and I'm going to choose this. Even if it happens later today, I'm going to choose it again, right? Like, think about it in the context of just a bad diet, poor nutrition choices. Hey, I want you to choose the salad with a piece of blackened salmon. And they're like, okay, sounds great. And they go and they're like, no, I'm a fucking burger guy. I'm a greasy burger guy. I want greasy onions and mushrooms that are cooked in petroleum, and I want them just smothered. And I want the fattest, high saturated, thickest piece of cheese just melted all over it. Like, I want gut rot. Like, that's me. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
wait, would you choose the salmon tomorrow? No, I would choose the burger. It's like, okay, so that's you. But if we can't break you out of that shell, we can't go anywhere,
Right.
right?
Right. You're exactly right. Then there's
Like,
no room. There's no room for improvement.
no, so for me, I mean, I can wholeheartedly tell you that during the day, even in the next hour or two, I've got a lot of work after we wrap, but in the next hour or two, I'm going to be daydreaming about my workout tomorrow morning. Okay. And if someone called me at 4 o'clock or shot me a text and said, Herzog, hey, uh, what are you doing? Want to go grab a quick soda, grab a quick bite? Like, I got a new bottle of scotch. Let's sip on some. I would have to think about it, but it would have to be very, very, very important for me to go, yes, because I know what's at the detriment of a
Yeah.
yes, right? Now, again, that's me. So this is kind of a really cool conversation with you because one area that I know I need to fix in my life and I need to enhance for sure is my social element. I mean, I live in the fucking woods, right? And Jess was always like, you want to move out into the middle of the fucking woods? Like we're going to have no neighbors. And I'm like, exactly. Right. I'm
That's
like,
true.
I can drive to my neighbors. I can go into town. I want to live in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to see a house. And so I've become this little hermit. The other day I listened to a podcast and there was a name, something monk. It was interesting. It was this concept that like a lot of people are choosing this isolation and this loneliness and this aloneness in our world right now, right? I mean, you don't have to leave your house. You can get Uber Eats, you can watch movies, you can stream everything, you can work from home. You don't have to have a face-to-face conversation with anybody, right?
Yeah.
And
COVID
so,
ruined everything.
right. So I know this is an area I need to work on. So just like you're breaking shell to go to the workout rather than that social opportunity, mine's just the opposite. Mine's like,
It
hey,
totally,
right? Like,
totally is. It
and
totally is.
dude, and Jess and I talked about this on spring break. She's like, babe, I like, we were around a lot of people for spring break. And she's like, I like the energy. Like, we played pickleball and we were at the pool and we went to dinner. And she's just like, we cook in all the time. We don't go out for date night anymore. She's like, it feels good to just like be around people. And I'm like, get me to my bar, let me have a drink, or let me go to bed in an hour and a half so I can get up at 5 and do my workout tomorrow. Like it's crazy to me that that has become those are my boundaries, right?
This is one thing that and this is just selfish Christian, selfish social Christian, friends with not as social Ryan Herzog. I secretly wish that like just one afternoon the whole Herzog clan just shows up at my house like at a 4:30 in the afternoon. Be like, hey, what's going on, guys? Maybe there's a bottle in your hand. And it's like, oh shit, come on in, let's and we just hang out, right?
Let
And
me write that
and
down. Hang
let me find it on my calendar if
on.
I
Let
have
me put
time
it
for
in my
that.
calendar as a everyday repeat.
But seriously, that would be like I secretly hope that like I get the text from Ryan. It says, "Hey, Jess and I are down at Riches and Saints. We left the kids alone because you know what? Those two little rats can figure it out themselves. Come join us." And it's like, "Oh shit, Elizabeth, get dressed. The Herzogs are out."
We're not getting this for the next decade. Yeah, no, no. And it's, so I think this would be really fascinating to talk with, an audience about and really kind of get the spark in that, arena of thought. Have an individual. I'm going to probably have this conversation with my clients and just get people to think through that shell concept. Like, where are you stuck? And is that preventing you from these changes? Is that preventing you from making a decision to do the things that you are telling me you want to do? And if so, great.
Yeah.
What do we do about it, right? Like, how can you motivate Herzog to have more social and not care so much about every fucking morning's workout? And
Right.
how can we get Christian to go, hey, yeah, that 25-year-old, she's coming back next week. Like, dude, you got to get your ass back in the gym because you've been stressed for 3 days. Your eating sucks because you're eating stressed. Just get to the fucking gym, do some zone 2 cardio, and throw some fucking weights around for 30 minutes, and you're going to feel like a new man. And you're going to sleep good tonight. Because, oh, by the way, your sleep has been dog shit the last 2 nights, right?
Yeah.
How do we coach? Do we consult? Do we help the listeners, the viewers navigate that? I mean, I truly think you said it earlier. I don't think there's an answer or a solution, but
No,
I
there's
think
not.
there's some serious traction with this.
Yeah.
And it all starts with identification, right? Like, you got to identify the fucking problem before you can fix anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
and and identify well a lot of people will identify. I mean, I talk to these guys all the time. They identify their problem. Oh yeah, I know I got this, or but I'm going through a divorce. It's really hard for me right now. Did all this kind of stuff. And okay, so they've identified their problem. At least in their mind, they've identified their problem. And who's to say that's not their problem? They've identified it. Okay, but what are you doing about it? And is it something that you've done once about it? Is it something that you're repetitively trying to do about it? Is it something you did it once and you said, I did that, but I don't do it anymore? And I think really what we need is we need to have, I think having a guest on, um, and it doesn't really matter who the guest is. Like you said, a psychotherapist, you could have a physician on board, but you got to be really careful this is my opinion, and it's not meant to offend anybody. We have to be so careful with the medical community as it stands today when talking about health and wellness, because the physicians who run primary care in America are bought and paid for.
Yep. I
Full
agree.
stop. They're
I agree.
fucking bought and paid for. They have in their minds that I went to med school and I did my residency and now I've been a physician and I've had my own practice and this is what the AMA has said. You're right. But in the end, you're not right, Mr. Doctor, and you're no longer the authority. You're authority on that thought process, but guess what? The thought processes have changed. So you either need to come start stepping in outside of your comfort zone to meet up with what the expectations of the clients are. And I have this problem in my office right now, or the world's going to pass you by. Healthcare is passing people by, these physicians by. But I'd love to have a physician on. Hell, I'd like to have just a physician on who's in that mindset and do a small challenge. Challenge them to just openly talk about it. Now, the problem with that is physicians notoriously like to, well, peer-reviewed study. Okay, well, who paid for your peer-reviewed study? And who sponsored that peer-reviewed study? And what peer-reviewed journal was it put in? And who runs that? So, but I'd love to have guests on, physicians, psychotherapists, just dudes. Like when we had Hockey Dad on. Hockey Dad was great.
Well, I think even to have someone, I don't consider myself an expert in this field because of my academic, signature. I don't consider myself an expert because of, all of these research papers that I've gotten published. I consider myself an expert in some of these arenas because of the clinical trials I have personally done myself. In the clinical trials for the last 15 to 20 years, I've done with a lot of different people, right? Like, to your point, I mean, my wife's a physician and we talk all the time and she goes, "Babe, I didn't learn that in medical school. Like,
Right?
I didn't learn anything about diet." And I'm like,
Nothing.
"What?" And so they teach them the fucking food pyramid, right? It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
holy shit. So it's like, I almost think you could take someone who's just in an arena who works with people like yourself and myself, and we have years of that foundation where we've seen people succeed. We've seen people crash and fucking burn. And we've seen the modifications and the adjustments made to our protocols and our approaches through real fucking human beings making change, not making change, seeing betterment, not like, to me, and I get people asking me all this all the time. They're like, and these are mostly my executive clients. They're like, "Well, do you have a degree? Are you a registered
Oh,
dietitian?"
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I am not a registered dietitian, and I have no problem saying I'm not. I used to be like almost insecure saying no, and now I'm like, I would not spend a penny to get an RD. No fucking way, because
No
I
way.
get to go and select the information, and I have literally people that are willing to put in the work, changes, make those modifications of their life, and I get to see if it works or not. And
Yeah.
it might work for Joe and it doesn't work for Sarah. And what works for me doesn't work for Christian, but that's better than you fucking going and studying some books and paying for a certification that who knows who's pumping the money into that class and into that certification and for what reason and what do they know?
Yeah.
Why are they the expert, right?
Right. Right. Why, I mean, here you just, why did nursing go from you could be an LPN and do anything in a hospital to now you have to be an RN to now you have to be a master's of nursing? Jesus Christ, you can be a PhD in nursing these days just to get up in the world. And what does that mean for anybody? Nothing. It's a revenue driver. And it's the same thing in healthcare across the board. I'm with you. When people say, well, did you study? Do you have a degree in that? Or my older brother, and God bless Evan. I love the dude. He's been in pharmaceutical sales for his whole career, basically. And we had an interesting conversation about health and wellness last February when I was in St. Louis, face to face, sitting at the kitchen table while I was making beef stew. And I said to him, I said, what blows me away and I'm proud that you've been in the industry for as long as you have, and you've been able to hang on. It's been a career for you. I'm super proud of you. But the fact that you work in a cancer drug industry absolutely blows my mind what your industry does. He goes, what do you mean? I said, cancer's been around for, I don't know, since about the 50s. And most of it is man-made. We've created it. We've created it through the crap and the chemicals that we've been allowing to put in our foods. And the American Cancer Society, if you go to their webpage, there's not one massive dedicated page to healthy diet. These are things to avoid. These are the things you should never, ever eat. And if you're diagnosed with cancer, these certain cancers, this is the first things you should do. Fasting, this thing, da, 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 da. I said, your whole society doesn't talk about that, Evan, but what do you guys do? Every quarter, you're pumping out a new chemical to treat people with cancer. And when you were doing cardiology drugs before the cancer drugs, Evan, you were telling me about all these great blood thinners and all these great ACE inhibitors and all these, whatever, right? And I was like, but there was never a conversation that I heard you have or tell me about conversations you had with these doctors about the conversations they had with their clients to say, you have to make these changes in what you put in your fucking mouth, food wise. Mm-hmm. I said, but your industry keeps pumping out two things every quarter. And if you watch any TV, you see them. A new drug to treat a brand new disease state that they made up. And then there's a peer-reviewed study and this study is double blinded and it's controlled. And okay, but what's the one thing that you never hear anybody talk about in this study? We enrolled these people who met these disease states, and we put them on this diet, and they stayed on this diet, and we also gave them this medication, and these are our results. No, no, just keep eating the shit you're eating, but let's see if our drug will lower some of these symptoms. If it does, yay, put it out there and let's start stuffing it in people's mouths. And there's no care from the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Association, the Pediatric Association. There is no conversation whatsoever out of their mouths about, hey, Kraft Foods, guess what? Your foods can't be part of the SNAP program because they're damaging kids. So guess what? Your chips and your soda and your bars and all that kind of stuff, people on SNAP can't buy that. Where's that conversation? Where is that? It's nowhere to be found, Ryan. And it just, I mean, you could see I'm getting revved up, but I mean, I am so pissed off about that situation alone and the uphill battle that you and I are talking about right here. It's a fucking uphill battle talking to anybody about the reality of things and the things that said person, small changes need to be made, but open your fucking eyes, people. Swallow the red pill and realize that a double-blinded study that's controlled environment paid for by Pfizer to show you that this drug lowers your A1C versus, hey, stop eating high fructose corn syrup and watch your A1C drop in a second, and you never have to put that chemical in your body.
Yep. But we're treating the results of the actions that we keep doing it.
Yeah.
But then take this pill and that'll help what's happening because of what you're doing. Like it's
right.
the dumbest thing, right?
It's the dumbest thing. And if the AMA had any willpower, and if these physicians these days had any clarity on really what healthcare is, because healthcare in America is access to treatment for your maladies.
Yeah.
Healthcare in America is not, let's get you healthy.
No way. You would, the medicine 2.0 to 3.0 transition, I'm so bought into and have been for years, but it would literally bankrupt some of the largest organizations in our country, and people are so scared of that, right?
And it should.
Yeah, like when you talk about the FDA and the USDA and well, I don't care. They're turning their eye to all of these diseases in these animals and all of this salmonella and all of this bacteria on the lettuce farms, and just bag it up real quick and put it out there, and then we'll treat the patients after they get sick, and then we'll put them on medication the rest of their life. Like, it is unbelievable. Again, that's for a different day.
But these are the things that our audience and our whoever's listening, they need to think about these things. These are the most important things. If you're going to make changes in your life, and going to the gym is hard, and changing your diet is hard, but opening up your eyes and your ears and just saying, wait a second, that makes a lot of sense to me. And when you start believing it in your head that, yeah, there's too many ingredients in this, I shouldn't eat this, that's not good for me, that's the first steps to then being able to say, I'm starting to lose weight, or I'm starting to sleep better, and oh my gosh, my face doesn't break out every time I eat this garbage, right? This is the information that this is kind of the core of what I want to do here. Get this information out there over and over and over again. It doesn't have to be a slap in the face. It doesn't have to be back up the dump truck and dump a pile of shit in somebody's ears. But it's definitely, this last 20 minutes of focus talking about these things. This is what people need to know. Whether they believe it or not, that's totally up to them. And I don't think you and I are stepping into, conspiracy land or anything like that. But this is the reality of where we are today. And it's happening in front of our eyes. There's more people than just you and I, right? Squawking about this.
All day, I will have a conversation with somebody about some ailment, issue, discomfort, whether it's, hey, I've got, GI issues. Again, these young kids, I work with these athletes all the time, and they're like, I've got acne, so I'm going on Accutane. And I'm like,
God, I know.
Whoa. You're what? Right. And so again, it's so fascinating that people have bought into this quick fix. Because again, if you take someone who says, "Hey, listen, I'm sleeping horrible," and you go, "Okay, well, do you want, to talk about it?" Like, and I have these conversations with a lot of people about sleep. I've dug into sleep big time, and in the military, as you know, sleep it was it was not valued, right? I mean,
You got it when you could get it.
yeah, in war, it was like, oh, you only get 2 hours tonight? Oh, not a big deal. And then you function so poorly the next day, people would be like, hey, pop this. It'll make you feel better. And I'm thinking, no, 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 I just need to sleep. Like I
Yeah,
need a fucking nap, right? So anyway,
right.
let's take someone who's having sleep issues and you say, hey, you've got sleep issues. Okay, well, tell me what's going on. And they, walk you through these. I'm up. It takes me an hour to get to bed. And then I'm just, my mind's racing. And then I wake up groggy. And then I'm just foggy and I've got brain fog all day. And you go, okay, well, let me ask a couple questions. Like, when do you drink caffeine? Yeah, I have to drink it till 8 o'clock at night so I can get my work done. Okay, well, you should probably stop drinking caffeine. Well, no, no, no. I'm just going to pop my melatonin gummies. And you're like, no, no, no. Hang on a second. Like, I just need you to actually stop the caffeine. There's a half life of 8 to 10 hours on caffeine. So
Right.
stop it at like noon. I can't do that. Right. So what we're doing is we're taking the easy road by chewing the melatonin gummy instead of stopping the caffeine. And then, oh, by the way, I'm sitting in front of a screen wearing these 3.99 blue blockers until 9 o'clock at night. And then you expect to go right to bed. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Can you maybe go 3 hours before bedtime? I can't do that. So I'm going to take this to fix this. Like the society, I think and I would love for a couple minutes before we close to throw maybe just off the hip, me and you, throw a couple things out so it's recorded. And then we can come up with like that list of 10 or 12 items later. But a few things where we just say, hey, listen, think about or consider doing this. And just let people take it. Let people go, you know what? I'm going to actually try that. And I'm going to see what happens from that. I'm going to see what thing that's really brutal in my life dissolves. I'm going to see what changes happen from taking it away rather than putting something else on my plate to try to fix that staying on my plate. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I have so many of these, like the 10-3-2-1 rule. And that's a sleep tool, and then people are like, I can't do it. And the next person goes, I'm going to actually try that. And they try it. And 3 days later, they're like, Coach, I haven't slept that good in the last year. Like, this is me. I'm doing this. I'm done. I bought in, you know?
Yeah.
And so if we don't have that information, I think a lot of people are going to go to the easy route. They're going to take the easy road, the quick fix, the convenience. I mean, look at fucking fast food. Let's be honest.
Oh,
Jess and I home cook a meal every single night during the week. We don't eat out. And if it means we got to eat at 3:30 or 4 because Thor has something at school or whatever, or we have to eat at 7 at night, like we do, but we don't eat out. And people that just refuse to not make a home cooked meal with their own ingredients that they know what it is, like they're missing out. They're literally fucking missing out on one of the
missing
most important things,
out.
right?
Yeah, but most of these people who can't cook a home cooked meal, when you cook, like I've invited people over to my house who are habitual eaters out, and I'll cook like what our family considers just a fantastic meal, right? And you can see it. One of two things happens, and I'm going to use Owen's girlfriend as an example, and then another friend of ours. Owen's girlfriend, every Tuesday night she's over. And so I'm making a dinner with single ingredient foods. Usually it's, she likes steak. And so it's always some kind of a fillets or whatever. Regardless, there's some vegetables involved, some root vegetables, maybe a starch. It's usually a sweet potato, whatever, right? And we're making something that really is delicious, and I watch her scarf it down with gusto. And I'm like, how was that? She's like, this is so good. And I ask her a question. I says, do you guys not eat like this at your house? She says, no, we don't. But I also know she is and Owen tells me she's a horrible fast food hound. She just loves McDonald's. I mean, she'd eat McDonald's every day. But then when she eats my food, she's like, this tastes so different. This tastes so good. So her taste buds are fucked, right? Just everything about her brain and what she's getting from the two sides. Then I've got another friend that we've had over. We'll make like our famous chicken spadini, or we'll make, whatever, with something, really, really, really home cooked delicious. And he eats two or three bites of it, and then he just kind of moves around his plate. And then dinner's over, and he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I toast up some of that bread over there and like maybe put some peanut butter jelly on it?" And I'm like, "Nah, dude, nah, dude, go ahead." And he didn't even understand how like kind of insulted I was. But
Mhm.
then also I feel so much pity. I'm like, you just were presented with what is an amazing meal, and you scoffed at it. You ate little to none of it, and you chased down processed. Well, it wasn't because I've got some good sourdough, but it was sourdough bread, and then he put peanut butter and jelly on it, right? And the peanut butter we have is I don't eat it. Elizabeth likes it. I keep telling her I don't buy it, but it's that supposedly good for you peanut butter. But then he pulls out strawberry preserves, and and I'm like, what the fuck, man? But that's the big challenge. The big challenge is getting people to understand that single ingredient natural foods will taste better, but it's going to take a second. You're going to have to retrain your brain, and you're going to have to realize that it's not as hard to make it as you think it is. Because Owen and Savannah, one afternoon, he said, "Hey, we're going to run up to King Supers and we're going to get some food." I said, "Owen, I'm cooking right now. I'm making roast chicken. We got these potatoes. We got da da da. I'm making that right now." He's like, "Yeah, but we're really hungry right now." I said, "Okay, whatever, man. You guys do whatever you want to do." So I had just put it in the oven, and then like 10 minutes later, they get in their car and they leave, and they're gone. And they show up about 35 minutes later with their food in hand, and our dinner is already cooked. It's already done. And Elizabeth and I are already sitting there eating it. And they come in and they sit down at the table and they open up their shit. And I'm looking at this crap they got. They went to Cane's and they got chicken fingers and French fries. And I'm looking at that and I go, "Hey, Owen, remember when you told me you didn't have a lot of time because you had to go get your food?" He goes, "Yeah, I know." And I go, "No, no, remember?" He goes, "Yeah, I know, Dad." And I said, "Are you saying I know, like you don't want to hear me harping on this anymore?" He goes, "Exactly." I was like, "Okay, good. Point made." Right. And then, I had a conversation with him and I said, "Dude, don't ever do that again. Okay. Don't ever do that again. This is better for you. It's better for her. Be the example, Owen. Set that example. Say to your girlfriend, dude, Dad's making this amazing." So, and that's kind of what kicked off every Tuesday. They come over and I really have them cook the meal. I show them, I tell them how to do it, and they're the ones who are preparing it. They're the ones who are making it. And Owen is starting to talk better about food. He's starting to do things. He still will eat garbage. He'll still go to the frickin', store and buy shit. But at least I've got him thinking about it. Rebecca's the same way. So that's really the train. And I personally think that as leaders, as male leaders, if you don't have kids and if you're just a single dude, then you're your own test subject. But if you got kids, push it on them first and be the example.
Yep.
Push it on them first, right? "Oh, my kids are all ADHD." Yeah. How much Go-Gurt do you give them when they were 6 years old because they wanted a snack? What? All the time. It's healthy. It's Go-Gurt. It's low sugar. It's got, I mean, that's why your kid's ADHD. And then you let them sit in front of the TV. I mean, these are the things. But the challenge is to get the youth of America to start eating single ingredient foods and getting away from that other stuff we're talking about.
Okay, so I love it. I love it. I agree wholeheartedly. Let's go back and forth and let's close with six total, three apiece, as simple as possible tips as we close that listeners, viewers can literally start at lunch or at dinner today.
You go
Want you
first.
want me to go first?
Yeah.
Listen, I've said this, but it's my numero uno. and I'm going to make it flexible. So I want mine to be cut some or all sugar daily. And listen, I don't have to really expand on this. If you go, I can't cut that, then don't cut it. But cut something. Cut something. That's why it's some or all. And you know what sugar is. I'm not talking about a nice orange that you have to peel that's just juicy and delicious. That's good natural sugars that come from a plant. I'm talking about a fucking Snickers bar at the gas.
Yes.
I'm talking about the shit that's packaged, stuff that you're eating that has junk sugar, candy, like some or all. That's mine. Numero uno. What's
Yeah.
you?
Well, my numero uno, and this is the first thing I tell all of my guys because I know how inflammatory this is, and I have to explain it to these guys that you might not be feeling it, but at the cellular level, your immune system is in absolute hyper overdrive because of seed oils, peanut oil, soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. They are petroleum products that are refined by what's called hexane, which is a floor stripper to make them shelf stable and clean and clear. And you can put them in the fryer and you can use them over and over and over and over and over again. They don't break down for a couple of days. Stop eating anything that has been fried. And if it's in your house, throw it away and replace it with EVOO or avocado or beef tallow. Those are the three things you can have in your house. You throw everything else away out of your house and you never buy it again. That's my one.
Love it. Love it. That's a big one for me too. So thanks for that one. My number two, this is a tough one, but I'm going to go there. I am disgusted with the state of dehydration in human beings. People don't drink enough water to help flush, detox, and just move things through their body. So my challenge and my tip is listen, we all, unless you're in a third world country where you don't have access to clean water, I get it. So it's not everybody, but the majority of people in our country can have access to free water. And it comes out of your tap, whether it's coming from your well and you need to filter it or it's a little dirty. I don't care, but drink more water. And when you want to drink your third cup of coffee, or when you want to drink that freaking 32-ounce energy drink that costs $6 from the gas station, or you want to drink that garbage, just grab a glass of water and drink more water. I drink about 2 gallons of water a day, but I'm sweating a ton. So I think on average, most people should shoot for somewhere at 80 ounces. And again, if you're a really heavy person and you weigh 250, you're probably going to need more, but maybe minimum 80 ounces. My go-to for my athletes that are 160 and over is usually a gallon of water a day minimum. Drink more water. That's my number two.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So I'm going to piggyback on your number two just a little bit. Um, I agree with you 100%. We don't drink enough just good fluids. Um, Supplements. Okay. In America, in our foods that most Americans are eating, there just isn't really any good nutritional value. Okay. So if you're not single ingredient cooking and making sure that you're also adding in foods that are high in, then you're going to have to start taking supplements. And now supplements aren't hard to find, but a lot of times it's hard to find good supplements. So I'm not going to lead anybody down the road of this is a good one versus a bad one, but we don't get outside enough until the weather starts changing. Vitamin D. You got to have vitamin D. Sodium. If you need to add a little bit of high quality Celtic sea salt into your 2 gallons of water to make sure you're getting sodium balance in your body, minerals are important. Magnesium, certain magnesiums are great. Some aren't that great, but magnesium is important. Vitamin D, fish oil, omega-3 fish oils, and vitamin B12. Getting those on a regular basis into your system will change things. And I'm going to give one quick example. 2 years ago, I had two different admissions into the hospital for AFib. I told you about this. Remember
Oh, yeah.
this?
Mhm.
And I was freaking out. I'm 50. I'm going to be 50. I'm having AFib. I'm getting hospitalized. I had a cardiac catheter, not a cath, a cardiac CT done. And my medicine 2.0 cardiologist who flat told me I put everybody on statins and everybody on high blood pressure medications. And he put me on them. And I told him, I said, I'm not taking it. I'm just not taking it. And he was just couldn't believe it. Did my cardiac CT, found out that I had zero buildup in any of my coronary arteries alone. So I started talking to my sister, and she said, "Well, what are your electrolytes like? Maybe your electrolytes are out of balance." And I was like, so I started adding these essential vitamins, minerals, elements into my daily routine because my diet was shit and I couldn't figure out where to get it. So I just started, and I haven't had a flutter in my heart ever since I got my electrolytes balanced out. Now I'm working better on getting it naturally from my food and diets, but I wholeheartedly believe that you can find good quality supplements to bring that into your regimen while you're trying to figure out your diet. That's my number two.
Love it. Oh man, that's in my stack. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. And I will just say for our listeners and viewers, that supplement world is very overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming for me, right? And I'm in it. I'm in it from a performance standpoint. I'm in it from a longevity standpoint. There's all kinds of apps out there, and then there's a freaking trillion gazillion Googleplexian number of companies selling you the next greatest thing. So just be cautious, do your research, find an expert. Don't just buy some brand new greens powder online because it's cheaper. And one other thing, be careful about counterfeit products.
Yep.
This is a big piece in the industry right now. Don't buy your stuff on Amazon or some other, Chinese market because it's 60% off. You're getting a counterfeit product, guaranteed. So
Yeah. Yeah.
be careful. Buy it from the source. Man, my number three, I've got a lot. It's hard for me to pick this, but I'm going to close with probably the simplest one, but it's one of the hardest decisions.
I know what you're going to say.
You do?
I think I
So,
do, but
so this one is a shout out to the people who go to the grocery store. Okay. I am such a believer in access. What I
oh,
mean by that is if you grab something in the grocery store, first off, be a perimeter shopper, unless you're
yeah.
getting beans for a chili or something, whatever. But like, shop the perimeter, right? Don't spend all your time in the middle going down the aisles with shit that doesn't expire in packages. But if you grab something and you're about to put it in your cart, I want you to think about if that's a good decision. Like, literally go, this is a snack that I probably shouldn't be eating, but I love them. Boop, in the cart. No, access to your pantry with shit is one of the biggest issues. Just stop buying the shit. I'm not kidding you. Just go to the grocery store, buy good stuff. And when you have cravings, pour a little bowl of frozen blueberries, grab some walnuts, something that has nutritional value, or drink a 32-ounce glass of water or drop a herbal tea in there. Access, guys, girls, when you grocery shop, don't buy the shit because if it's in your house, you're going to eat it.
You're going to eat it. And you're saying to yourself, that's okay. No,
That's
I
my number.
love that. No, I did not think you were going down that road. So I was wrong. But now I'm going to go. I'm going to take what I thought you were going to say. I'm going to make it mine. So here we go. Stand the fuck up. Stop sitting. Okay. If you're at work and you sit down every couple of hours, now I get it, man. If you're on a project call and you're doing and you have to stand up, get up out of your office. I'm lucky down in Cherry Creek. I can go down 2 flights of stairs and I'm right there in Cherry Creek. I literally will walk around the block. And it takes 10 minutes, right? And it's, 500, 600 steps. I don't know how many fucking steps it is, but I'm going around the block, a couple of blocks. I'm just walking and I'm walking brisk. And then I come back into the office and I'm sitting back down. I'm back on the phone, stand up, get moving. And I'm going to just piggyback on one other thing about standing up. When you go to the gym, if you're dabbling in working out, and this is just me personally, Ryan, every time I go to the gym, my routine starts with legs. Every time I'm at the gym, I work out my legs. And I push pretty heavy weight too. But when I first started doing it, it hurt, right? My legs hurt, my ass hurt, my everything hurt. And now it doesn't hurt. And every day my workout starts with 5 different leg exercises, and none of them are weight bearing on my back, right? And then I get into more of my circuit training or whatever it is I do. But it's so important for longevity that your legs are strong, be able to stand, be able to walk, be able to take long walks, be able to hike, work your legs. That's my third thing right there. Standing and exercising your legs.
Oh, buddy, I love it. I know. I wanted to use that as my number one. I will say, I've got right now, this is an elevated workstation, and I'm in a high standing stool position, but I have a standing workstation upstairs where I do a lot of my work. I've got a trainer on my road bike is on a trainer where I take my calls, and if I'm not on my road bike, I'm walking on my treadmill or I'm walking outside catching some vitamin D, some sunshine. I call them walkie-talkie. And it's funny because I have a lot of my calls with people that go, are you working out? And I go, no, I'm in my zone too. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's a great conversation with people, but sitting is smoking. I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately, like the studies and the research is out there, but it's painful. I've had people come back and tell me, hey, I've done this for a week now. My back hurts, my core, like my abs are sore. And I'm like, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just keep the train going, right? Like it's
Yeah.
beautiful. So I love it. And I think, you know, we got to come back to this and create a list and give people, double this and just say, start here. And then maybe we wait and we hear listeners go, all right, we're crushing it. We've
Yeah.
got these 10 or 12, like we're doing, give me more, right?
What's
But
next?
yeah, until then, I'm not giving you any more.
No.
Like you got to start here. And if you can't even do the 6 that we just gave you, then you need more time. Or you need to remotivate yourself. Or you need to look inside at what the hell you're doing or why you want the change in the first place. But if you can't get those 6 cooking, we're not giving you more. There's no
Yeah.
point.
That's
You're
right.
wasting
That's
time.
right. Yeah, it's wasting time. I mean, you're not going to do it, you
No,
know? It's like
no.
giving advice. It's like giving advice. People are so ready to give advice and never take it. I've stopped giving a lot of advice because it's like, yeah, good. Hey, Melanie, yeah, awesome. Uh, you're not going to listen. You know,
I like that. I like
yeah,
that. What do you do, Herzog? Nothing.
nothing.
I'm
I
just
coach
not
people who listen. I coach people who listen.
gonna. I only coach people who listen and follow instructions. I
That's
love
right. That's exactly right. I'll leave you with this last thing, and I know you got to bounce. Um, this is a funny little side story. Last night at the bar, when that 25-year-old smoke show, she tells us what she does for a living. She teaches kindergarten at the Goddard School, and I'm like, okay, good. I said, how do you feel about the state of education today? And she opened up and she was kind of like, it's hard dealing with these parents and dealing with these kids. The kids are funny and the kids are this. And I said, wait, the kids are funny? I said, you're teaching kindergarten. She's like, oh yeah, they swear and they talk back. I said, who are they? I mean, like, they swear in class. She's like, oh yeah, some of these kids have real potty mouths. And I said, they talk back. Who are they talking back to? She goes, well, me. And I said, are you their teacher? She's like, yeah. I said, okay. Do you ever think about putting them in the thinking position? She's like, the what? I said, the thinking position. Like when they talk back or if they say something in your class, you just say, hey, I need you to get in the thinking position and think about what you just said. She says, what are you even talking about? I said, you've never heard of the thinking position? I said, okay, I told the story. I said, listen, when I was in boot camp, I had a company commander who was, he was like Sam Kinison, man. He could scream and scream and scream at you. But then sometimes when he started talking really nice and he was like, hey, everybody, I think everybody needs to be in the thinking position right now. And everybody's like, oh, fuck, right? Well, it's the push up position. And I told her, I said, put these kids in the thinking position. And if they can't stay in the thinking position, tell them to put their knees down and they're just on all fours and they don't get to talk. They don't get to say anything. And you do it for like 20 seconds and just give yourself a little bit of silence. And then you sit them back up and you start over again. And she was just mortified. She was like, I can't do that. I said, well, then you're not their teacher. All you are is their caretaker, and you're responding to these rats who come out of these mom and dad's houses. And I'm saying this to her, and she's doing what you're doing. She's like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm just saying. She goes, you would never be able to teach. I go, I would love to be a kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third. I'd love to be a teacher because I wouldn't put up with this shit. And I'd be like, I don't give a fuck who your mom and dad is. This is the rules in my classroom. And this is what we're going to do. And it'll be engaging and it'll be fun, but there'll be some discipline and I'll hold you all accountable for certain things. Other things, it's hard too, right? But and she was just like the thinking position. I was like, don't forget that thinking position.
Love it. I love it. You would never be allowed to teach.
Phew.
Yeah. I don't teach. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's right.
Good stuff, man. Great show
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
Good topics, good content. I think we can revisit these too. So
I agree. This was good everyday alpha for sure. We definitely drank some tea today.
I drank 32 ounces of tea.
Look at that. I did before you showed up. I got the big stupid Stanley.
The stupid $80 Stanley. I love it.
It was 40
on sale. Hey, great seeing you. Let's try to do it again next week.
I'm looking forward to when you just randomly show up at my house.
I wrote it down. It's in my calendar.
We're going to have to do a bottle of Yuga Dial again. That freaking stuff was amazing.
Getting a little pricey. It's getting a little
so
pricey.
Dumb. It's so dumb.
All right, man.
All right.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.